Good morning. Welcome to the Alan Osborne Show. As promised, we're going to do a rundown to celebrate January and rolling into this new year, the rundown of 2021 buffoonery in good old Walton County. So let's talk about that. It's an election year, and this time last year, we just rolled out of an election year. Okay. So this time last January, Mr. Barker and Mr. McCormick were just getting their feet wet, so to speak. And then with that, they had their first meetings. And as we know, Nick was the chairman, and they came into January. And we started off right off the thing with Mike Barker trying to convince us all that he was actually going to look into some things that he said he was. It said it was crooked. And if there was a commit, they had a meeting, and he wanted an investigation. He wanted an audit of the planning department. And he wanted an investigation into Sandestin over whether they were following the rules or not. Well, Sandestin has a requirement for an annual report, which we won't discuss. We've given Mr. Barker the documents to show the traffic's out of compliance, the drainage is out of compliance, and they're substantially deviated. And now Barker is the chairman, and it's crickets. Yep. It's that like that SBD rolled through church, and nobody wants to say anything, but we all smell it. And then we had the wonderful meeting where our lovely county commissioners got to see the list. And we started that off at the first of the year in January and February with a look at the list. And the list was these little hit lists of citizens. When the local government doesn't like you, they put your name on the list and they pass it back and forth. Yes, they do. They pass these lists back and forth with the sheriff's department. That's right. The list was passed around by the sheriff's department's bailiffs and the administration. Yeah, Miss Dee Dee knew about it. And Larry knew about it. And all of them sat there and knew about it, but they didn't do nothing. So that was the list, and that's a good rundown. And then we had the wonderful Foreman property issue. Remember that? The 200 some acres? Because first, what your elected officials did was change its use to a higher density because it had been conservation land, and they just changed it to regular old residential. And when they did that, it about doubled the value. And lo and behold, after doubling the value of this massive piece of land for some people who are known heavily political contributors, they suddenly decided they want to buy it. So us, the citizens, got to pay twice what it was worth. And what have they done with it? Told us all a bunch of concepts and then let it die. And it's just sitting out there. They're saying they're trying to save the bay, which doesn't make a lot of sense because this week, this Tuesday, item number 19 on the BCC, the commission is going to let Clay Atkinson pay an attorneys to make sure that a judge doesn't tell them what the real standard is. This commission that has spent, and the past commissions has probably spent millions on the Sandestin standard. And now that they know that they haven't followed it, the answer is to pay attorneys to make sure nobody can get a judge to declare it. They'll just continue to ignore it. And this will let the 22-story condo be built that they're already selling on the non-compliant development order in Sandestin. Sheer genius. Surely these people went to the Wile E. Coyote School of Genius with Mr. Corruption and Planning and a sheriff. Hey, Mikey, I saw that they arrested some human traffickers up on I-10 by the Funiac, a bunch of them, hauling women around the state illegally, traffickers from other countries. Oh, I'm sorry. That was the highway patrol calling them, right? Because you don't catch people bringing human traffickers here because they help fuel the illegal operations and the violations, right, Mikey? You don't do that kind of stuff. You're busy at FSU teaching classes while you're the sheriff. And boy, you formed a lot of LLCs in the last little bit. Is this what you're doing when you're getting out to be sheriff? Anyway, back to the buffoonery of the BCC. So the sheriff refused to answer questions about all this illegal contracting and the violations and the $500 million fraud. And then Barker, he laid down like a Tijuana streetwalker over the Sandestin driftwood and the audit of planning. I swear to God, for $5, he just quit talking about it. He got his pee-pee hurt. He got his feelings hurt. So he wasn't going to do the right thing. And then, so that's how we rolled out of March, with the sheriff ignoring stuff. And then we got the Jay Tusa scandal going on. And Tusa wanted a $40,000 raise. And these people rightfully filed that joker. But then they went on just to make chaos of the TDC that continues today. It's still a mess. It's still this cash cow thing that they use like they wanted to. And that's how we rolled out of March. And also the county attorney was resigning, and Clay Atkinson knew he was going to get the job, but he couldn't get the job as a real attorney. So it was an interim attorney. That way he can answer to no ethics complaints. You can't make this stuff up. And that's why we had to introduce the Shady Bunch video. If you haven't seen the Shady Bunch, go back to the Walton County corruption page and watch the Shady Bunch, because about 3 of the Shady Bunch are no longer here. And that's not surprising and a good thing. But in April, we rolled into good old Boots McCormick, got told he couldn't have his cousin, got told he couldn't be on the board, got told it was a conflict. We've got the text of Scott Brandon and the county attorney, they all know. And Boots still nominates old Chuck Wilder to the planning board. That way he can have his cousin on there. And Chuck sits there defiantly, even though through the first meeting, and breaks the rules, only to be dismissed later. There's genius Boots. He was told during the campaign he could not nominate family. But that just doesn't mean anything, Walton County. It's like closer kin, show me some skin. You know, that's just kind of how they roll. But that didn't go off, and Boots looked like an idiot that he's proven to be. Between Boots's sexting scandal and all the other crap, he can't even make a motion. If he was a detective for all those years, it's no wonder nobody was caught during the Quinn administration and other people like that. What a joke. So we released the Shady Bunch, and Sydney quit and got her. Oh, by the way, there's about to be a new lawsuit over the pre-selection of the job before the advertising had finished. Sydney knew she had a job. And then Nick promotes Gary Madison, who'd been let go from the county. Basically, he quit back when he was an HR guy over domestic violence issues and some auditing stuff that never got audited. There were some discrepancies that were never investigated, and that's a whole nother show you can look at. And that's how we rolled in through the first 6 months of that. With us also finding out that our good sheriff looked all over the state and decided the best course of action to run the jail was to take the jail's requirements to have a law enforcement officer and take that out of the jail requirements and just hire his buddy who had worked in the jail 20 years ago, but was a dick cheeser and needed a job. This was Mikey's buddy. And as Mikey said, it wasn't no use in interviewing anybody when he knew he was going to get the job. And how did this joker know he was going to get the job? Because Mikey rewrote the job description so he will qualify. His bud. This is crazy. This guy, read the report and go watch the show on Mr. Butt Snorkel himself, Corey Godwin. You can't make this up. Tune in for the next show where we'll go in the second half of 21, where we see this man break policy and get canned. And these people work as hard as they can to cover it up. And this guy, as an interim attorney, making a fortune off the county, acting as an attorney with no ethical requirements of a real attorney of the county, referring things to his closing company, So he's closing titles and stuff. Why is the county attorney? He's the TDC attorney. He's the Defuniak Springs attorney. He's the Freeport attorney, or his firm is. This guy has his hand firmly in y'all's wallet, and he's as conflicted as a teenager with 3 kinds of dirty books on this nightstand. You know what I'm saying? And then we've always got this guy helping guide them through the process with his vast experience and his outlook on things that go in the county. You can't make this up on the Alan Osborne Show, but you can watch it here and I'll tell you about it. Tune in for the second half of 2021 on the Alan Osborne Show, coming to one of these pages near you or YouTube. Y'all keep them straight out there, you hear?